I walked into therapy quiet. I didn't leave that way. My parents set the whole thing up because my older sister Karen told them I was being difficult, which is hilarious considering she's been stealing from me for 2 years and nobody wanted to hear a word about it. But fine. I showed up to this beige office with a sad fake plant and one of those white noise machines hissing in the hallway. The therapist, Jan, had glasses on a chain and kept repeating that we needed to create a safe space, which already told me she had no idea what my family was like. Mom sat on the couch picking at her cuticles. Dad was in the chair by the window checking his phone every 5 seconds. Karen sat next to Mom looking angelic in her Target sweater, like she hadn't committed actual financial crimes. Jan started with that warm, fake therapist voice. How does everyone feel about communication? Mom said she wished we could be closer. Dad said we needed to respect each other's boundaries. Karen said she felt like I didn't appreciate her. That was it. I snapped. I looked straight at Jan and said, I want to talk about the money. Jan nodded like she was preparing for some deep emotional reveal. Nope. I pulled out my phone, opened my bank app, and showed all of them a neat little list of 17 charges over the last 2 years. DoorDash, Sephora, Ulta, random online stores, Karen's purchases, Karen's pattern, Karen's theft, over $2,000. Karen's face went corpse white. She stammered something about me lying, so I scrolled, showing screenshots, receipts, timestamps. Mom immediately did her stare at the wall and pretend she's in another dimension thing. Dad finally put his phone down. Jan asked how this made me feel. I told her it wasn't about feelings. It was about my sister stealing thousands and everyone acting like I was dramatic every time I brought it up. Then I asked Karen how she even got my card info. She shrugged and said, I found it in your room when I was looking for a charger. Just like that, as if breaking into my room and taking my debit card was totally normal. So I kept going. I brought up the time she borrowed my car and returned it with the gas light on and a dent she never mentioned. The time she told her friends I was the reason she didn't get into her first choice college. She missed the deadline because she was on a weekend bender. The Netflix account she hijacked and renamed the profile to Drama Queen while denying it was her, even though I could literally see what she was watching. Mom tried to interrupt. This isn't productive. But Jan actually held up a hand and told her to let me finish. So I did. I talked about the straightener she took to her apartment for 4 months. The jacket I saved up for that she wore to a party and stained with salsa. The time she told my boyfriend I talked trash about him, as a joke. Dad asked why I never said anything before I just stared at him. I did. You told me to work it out with her because we're adults. Mom chimed in that siblings fight and I needed to let things go. Karen shrugged like I was a toddler throwing a tantrum. Jan turned to Karen. Is this true? Karen did her fake crying, voice high, dabbing at non-existent tears, saying she didn't realize I was keeping track and thought we were sharing things like sisters do. Sharing is when both people agree, I said. Stealing is when you take things, lie about it, and gaslight everyone. Jan actually wrote that down. Mom said I was being too harsh. I asked her if she'd forgive someone who stole $2,000 from her. She didn't answer. I asked Dad if he'd shrug it off if a coworker borrowed his tools, broke them, and never paid him back. He said that was different. I said how? Silence. Karen promised she'd pay me back. I said she'd been saying that for 6 months. I told her I wanted a payment plan in writing or I was filing a police report. Jan blinked like she wasn't expecting that level of reality in her beige office. She tried to steer us toward resolution. I said fine. Karen pays me $50 a month until the debt's gone. She stays out of my stuff. No borrowing my car. No using my accounts. No entering my apartment without me there. Karen agreed, but her face looked like someone had canceled Christmas. Mom said she hoped this meant we could all move past it. I didn't say anything, because moving past something only works when everyone admits what happened. And for once, they actually had to face it, because I put every ugly detail right there on Jan's little beige coffee table.